It's well. Tell us, are you in your home yet?
I am here doing the Zoom. There's nothing in the house though, but it's all done. The landscaping, the waterfalls, the paint, the decorator touches. So the electrician's coming next week to install all 81 new lights all over the house. And then the cleaning crew comes in, and then the drape lady comes, puts up all the drapes and the area rugs. So we'll be totally done July 2. Then we got to wait for furniture. So what we're doing is, like anybody else would do, we're going to leave on vacation from July 5th through July 24th. And then we'll get home, and then we'll have everything delivered.
Let me ask you a question. How do you know when you're on vacation?
Well, I'm not home. That's about the only clue, the only difference.
You don't say, well, when are we going on vacation this year, Danielle? No, you're not going to do that, do you? You're vacation waiting to happen, aren't you?
We're actually traveling to this place called Nemacolin, Nemacolin in Pennsylvania. It's a 5-star resort, and we're going to do 8 days there. Then we're going to drive across Pennsylvania, and we're going to do Gettysburg. We rented a home there that's like 200 years old. And then we're going to do Hershey Park, and then we're going to fly home. So we'll be gone a little over almost 3 weeks.
Well, one of the things that I think we want to talk about today, Omar, a lot of people say when you sit down with somebody, find out their dreams, find out their goals. What kind of car do you want? What kind of house do you want? Where do you want to go on vacation? And everybody thinks if people come here for homes, cars, vacations, and they know that, then they'll have a reason to work. I have not found that to be the case. I'm a curmudgeon, I guess, on this thing that the company had years ago called the Y wall. Yeah. Guys go there, they put a picture of their mama and their papa, and I'm here for my mama. I want to bring my family. They don't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean laughable, but we tend to think material things are the things that people will work and kill for. In all the books I've read on money and finance, it says people want to get wealthy so they can have money coming in without having to work. And when they have enough money coming in so they don't have to work, that's like you. Now you start enjoying all those great things. But if people say, I want to stay in 5-star hotels and eat first-class food and fly around the world, I never see them doing anything. So talk about that, Omar, and how your life was becoming what, and I see this, and before I ask you a question, I talked to a lot of RVPs, and they want to get their business going. They want to take it to new levels. They want to get the ring. They want to have some breakthroughs. And I ask them about their money goals, and they have none. Zero money goals. And can you hear me, Omar? I think you froze. Either I froze. You're good now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
But, well, how much money do you want to make? Well, they don't know, but they want to get big. They all these other goals. You want to walk across that stage. You want to become an SNSD. They want to wear the red ring. All these things, but they're totally clueless when it comes to money, money goals. They don't even know how much money they make per recruit. They don't know how much money they make per RV. They don't know. They just work, assuming that if I don't have money goals, it's still going to work out because I want all these other things. But you're here to make and accumulate money, and we've got to come to that conclusion. If not, we stall out. Talk about that, Omar.
Well, I can tell you, when I was most driven, when I was most on it, when I was most working hard, was when I was living in an apartment or a townhouse, and my goal was, to accumulate $1 million. It wasn't to get a house, it wasn't to get a car, it wasn't to get a Rolex, although I like all those things. I wanted to know I could lay my head on the pillow at night and I got $1 million cash. Now, this is 25 years ago when $1 million was a lot more than $1 million is now, right? And then when I got to $1 million, I said, that ain't enough. We got to get to $2 million. So we literally rented an apartment and lived in an apartment until we were making $800,000, pretty much in override income, and had $2 million cash. I knew how much money I was earning per recruit. I knew how much money I was earning per licensed representative. I knew how much rollover money I would get per life app on average. I knew what I was spending a month because I was living on a budget. Nobody wants to hear that part, Bill, ever. But I was living on a budget and I was making sure we were living as close to that budget as possible. And we were investing the most amount of money we were able to invest per month. I remember months when we were in the apartment and we'd invest 40 grand in a month. And the happiest day of the month, Bill, was at the end of the month when I wrote out all the bills and I wrote those checks out and gave them to my wife. There's nothing that makes you more proud when you can call your wife in and say, here's 40 grand check, honey, mail that to our mutual funds, right? She just looks at you like you're a little bit more handsome, a little bit more desirable at that time, And I don't know, I was here to get wealthy. I remember in the early days when I wasn't running a big bass shop, my buddies would tell me, you got to get a big bass shop. You got to get a big bass shop. And they were running big bass shops, but I was earning more money than they were. So I didn't understand the whole thing. Now, I know you got to get a good bass shop, which I did for a lot of years. And I was diverse. I did investments, I did loans, I did life insurance, and obviously recruiting was the lead thing there. But I was more motivated about accumulating money, hitting my goals, becoming a multi-millionaire. And listen, on your way up, as you know, Bill, everybody's going to want to blow your money, right? Oh man, why don't you get a Rolls Royce? Why don't you get a Bentley, right? Because that doesn't motivate me. The craziest thing, Bill, today, I could drive any car I want. And I used to always think I would drive a Rolls Royce or, something. Now I look at it, I go, $400,000 on a Rolls Royce. You got to be a dumbass to have one of those. I mean, that's just how I see it now. Everybody's got their own stuff, but I'm like 400,000 in our investment. That's going to grow to $20 million one day. Would you rather have a used up Rolls Royce or $20 million that you could leave a legacy with? To me, I'm a lot like you. You could drive whatever you want. And I remember visiting you. We drove in a Lexus GS, and you also had a classic Porsche in the garage too. But you didn't even drive that one. You leave that alone, right? You were driving a Lexus GS, right? What people will realize as they grow their business, as they make more money, houses are nice. I love my new house, okay? It's like fun. But I would trade it in tomorrow so that I was free of stress, like money stress, that we could live like this and travel like we do and live with no stress. That's what motivates me, not the actual stuff,
I was talking to James Watkins a while ago and talk about a net worth maniac. He has become, all he thinks about is, I got to get my net worth going. I got to put more money away. And the discussion was, there's a strong desire to make money, but a stronger desire to invest it. And so when you're investing, desire is like this, more than you even concerned about making it. guess what happens to your making it?
You start
goes
making more.
Yeah, and the question is, and I wrote this down because I read this in a book, would you rather invest money or spend it? And you make money to spend it so you can look good in front of other people. And look at my car, look at my house. You know, like one guy said to me when I went to recruit him, where's your Rolls Royce? He looked out at, he was in a restaurant. And I'm thinking, well, like one guy said, all my money is hidden, not in showy things, but in investments, in things you can't see. You know, I'd rather have a big net worth than a big house. And what happens is when you get a big net worth and you achieve that and you got money coming in, then you can buy that big house, then you can buy that car. But your priority has got to be, like you're saying, becoming stone wealthy, having assets off of which you receive an income so you don't have to work. And so Omar talked about that and how your passion was to save and invest money. And now you're living for years, you know, like 5 or 6 years, and then 10 years. And then now you're living the life of Riley. I mean, you got everything you want, plus some of the money's still coming in.
Well, it's crazy. You used to tell me all the time, Omar, one day you're going to earn more money off of your investments than you make off of your business. And I thought, come on, Bill. I mean, you know, but I mean, since the year 2014, so that's like 6 years plus, every year I've tracked it. I've made more money on our investment accounts than we did in the business, right? So if I do get a Bentley, right, I might get one, not to impress anybody. I just really like the car, so I might get one. But the way I'm going to get it is I'm going to use dividends off of an asset that I've got, and the dividends are going to pay for it. I'm not going to pay for it. My assets are going to pay for it. This house that we bought, Bill, this house cost me no money. And you say, what do you mean, Omar? Last year, when the stock market dipped, I had $2 million cash sitting around like everybody else, right? All the rest of my money was invested, but I had $2 million cash. And when the market dipped, I invested all of it. That $2 million grew to $2.5 million profit. Not only grew to $2.5 million, it grew to $4.5 million. After taxes, I made a $2 million profit. That's what I used as a down payment on this house. And then when I unloaded my old house, I used the rest of that money here. So I got like $500,000 mortgage, but it didn't cost me a dime. All I did was use my assets, let my assets go to work, my assets and my ass go to work, rather than my ass go to work, my assets went to work. And then, you know, the other largest asset, even though we got $13+ million, our largest asset is really our Primerica business. I mean, our Primerica business pays us off $1.5 million a year. That's the equivalent to having $30 million in an account getting 5%. So I tell everybody, you want to accumulate the assets while you grow your asset. So you grow your asset, which is your Primerica business, and you grow it large enough where you're growing your other assets. My goal in the next 5 years is to get to $25 million in our investment accounts and get to $2 million in override income. Because if we get to 2 million, not if we, what am I saying? When we get to $2 million income, that's like having $40 million in an account getting you 5%. Then when you're buying the stuff like the cars and the houses and the trips, and like you bought a gymnasium at your kid's school, right? You were the one that planted this in my mind years ago. When I asked you how much was that, you said 5 million. I said, you spent 5 million? He says, no, I didn't spend it. Dividends paid for it. My dividends paid for it. And I'm thinking, my dividends paid. I have to get enough money so I can walk around and say, I didn't pay for that. My dividends paid for that, you know? So I don't understand why everybody doesn't want this bill. It drives me bonkers, right? Like, why would everybody want this? Our neighbors, I moved to the most prestigious street in the neighborhood, right? And so all my neighbors, they're all like, what are you doing? You've totally redone that house. It's like, and you're not even rushing, to live there. I said, well, no, I have my other house right there. I don't have to rush to live there. I mean, they're like, you got two houses. Look, they gave me this. Look, you got to look at it. Monopoly Mickey, right? Monopoly. Why? Because this house is Boardwalk and my other house is Park Place. It's on the exact same street, right? Good God Almighty. Why wouldn't everybody want to do
But
this?
see, but that was after.
Right.
That was over and above getting wealthy. Like you said earlier, I would trade all of it for financial security, cash in the bank. No one put their thumb on me.
Absolutely.
I talk to a lot of RVPs, and they're always, what system? What are you recruiting? Do you do this? Do you do that? How do you get people licensed? All the blah, 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 blah. And I said, they get on various videos, they go to various schools, and they learn all about this stuff. People know all they need to know. There's nothing more they need to know, yet they go to these schools, they get on Zoom calls, nothing happens. Yet people tell us that we're the only people talking about this, money. And I don't know what else to talk about. So two of the people that influenced me the most on this were Art Williams and Bo Adams. You heard me tell the story. I'd get around Bo, and he'd call me a dumbass. Orender, you're a dumbass. And he talked about money and accumulating money and having money. And I get around Art, and Art would talk about putting $4,000 a month away for 10 years, and you're a million you're a millionaire. And so that led me to start reading books. Who has influenced you regarding this money mindset that he talks about in Think and Grow Rich? Who are the influencers in your life? And a lot of them are not even in Primerica, aren't they?
Well, Bob Miller was the original influencer. Bob Miller, as you know, was in Primerica legend. He unloaded his business. He retired about 22 years ago. But I was lucky enough to work here for 1 year, his last year in the business. And for whatever reason, he liked me. And he kind of brought me under his wing, spent time with me, and he would just constantly pound in me, put your money away, live on half your money. That includes taxes. So half of your money you invest, the other half is for everything else. And I used to think everything else is, well, you have to make more money. That's all, And so Bob Miller definitely was the number one influencer. And then Bobby and Red, obviously big influencers. Hector, big influencer. And you, it's crazy. I think in all Primerica, Bobby Buisson, you, Hector Lamarck, Bob Miller, we're the only ones talking about ever in my 25 years here. I haven't heard anybody else other than those names I just mentioned, and me, you can include me in that list, that they're constantly talking about making money, how much money they have, net worth, growing your net worth, why it's important. It's not the houses and the cars and the watches, although we all have those things. But what it is freedom. There's no real way to explain it, I guess, to regular people, right? I mean, they have to read, they have to trust, they have to do the work. The only way they'll really know, the only way that I really know is I'm living it. You used to tell me constantly, you'll make more money on your investment accounts than you will your business. And Bobby used to tell me that. He used to tell me 1 year in Primerica, he made $4 million. And his investments paid him $21 million. I was like, what? You made $21 million? Yeah, $21 million. Primerica, it's like my pocket change. Like your pocket change, $4 million. It's the way they think. It's what they're accustomed. Like I could never go back. but I wouldn't, because I'm smart with my money. I make good choices even now. I'm not frivolous. I bought this house, Bill, at $1 million less than it appraised at. I bought it in the middle of COVID, not now when real estate is through the roof. And somebody just offered me double what I paid for it, double. And you know how awesome it was? I didn't even list my house. They just came and knocked on my door. They drove in a Rolls Royce. I live in Boston. My brother lives here. We visited here for 2 weeks. We love it here. We want to live on this street. We want your house. $6 million, cash deal, no appraisal. You know how awesome it was, Bill, to look him in the eye and tell him, I don't need the money. I like the house. Thanks.
Especially the baby face that you have had to drive him crazy, because you look about 25, 30 years old.
I told him, now, if you want to give me $10 million, we can talk about that. But for $6 million after taxes, because I've owned it less than a year, I'm only netting like 1.2 million. I go, and the extra $1.2 million doesn't change my life. I told him. Now 10 million, we could talk. So
let me read this. I picked this up from somewhere about billionaires. Billionaires think differently about what money is for. We see money as a way to get things. They see money as a tool to invest. We need more money to get a bigger house, nicer car, bigger television. Billionaires see money as a tool to be used to make more money. Once they get in abundance, a portion of that is used for the finer things in life once they get to a certain level. And so the thought has got to be, like I used to say, I'm not saving enough money unless Carol starts complaining we're saving too much money. And because, you know, she wants to buy things. She wants to buy this. She wants to buy that. And Omar, what we did was we set everything we bought based on a net worth goal. We didn't buy any big item. Dining room set. Nope. We got to get $100,000 net worth. We not income, net worth. We bought this after net worth. I bought my Rolex after I became a cash millionaire. And, you know, I bought that on sale from a guy. It's probably worth twice, 3 times what it's worth. But I don't even wear it anymore.
Hey, well, if you ever want to unload it, you let me know. I'll buy it from you, okay?
Well, hopefully my kids will want it one day, but the young kids today don't want Rolexes apparently. But so Omar, talk about that, and it has to become an obsession where people are wanting to buy things. They can't get motivated to buy things. They go around, drive through the neighborhoods. I have never seen anybody get motivated by things. They think that it'll motivate them. The world tells them that, and that's why a lot of people say, why do you want to get rich? How many cars can you drive? There's more to life than money. And that's how they talk until they get into a problem. And talk about that, Omar, and how it has to be, investing has to become an obsession where you start investing 50% of your income. And if your wife works, all her income. Husband works, his income. Talk about that, Omar.
I mean, I see so many vice presidents where their wife works or their husband works. And I'm like, just take their check every month, every week, and just invest it, every dime of it, right? It was a game to us. We look, see, how quick are we able to get to the next 100,000? Here's a secret. Took me 10 years in Primerica to get, now we didn't have any A.L. Williams stock and all that kind of stuff, right? So took me 10 years in Primerica, and we went through the technology bubble bursting in 01 and 02. So it was a rough 10-year period, but it took me 10 years to accumulate $1 million. It took me 2 years to accumulate the next million. It took me 1.5 years to accumulate the next million. Last year, our net worth went up like $4 million, right? So million number one is the hardest one. So make it a game. How could we have a new RVP, Alex, and his wife, Fabi, and they are so coachable, Bill. It's like retarded. I mean, they're so coachable. They're new RVPs. They've only been RVPs like a year and a half. They've already paid off all their debt, and they just went over 100 grand in their investment accounts. Their rolling 12 is closing in on 180, so they should cross 200 grand here in the next 90 days, and they're obsessed. They went and lived with their relatives and rented a room out of their house and were ridiculed by their relatives. Oh, Mr. Moneybags, if you're making all that money, why are you renting a room out of your, brother's house or whatever, right? And they're just coachable and coachable. And if you make it a game and a competition, their upline is the exact same way. Mark Young, one of our other RVPs, he just hit $1.5 million. And I said, good job, Junior, but $1.5 million wasn't what it used to be, right? You need to get to work, right? So he just crossed $500,000 in income, and he's investing money. And so I've always talked about it. I've always told my people what I do. I'm very transparent. I'm probably the most transparent person in all Primerica. I mean, I'll tell you anything. If you want to look at my checkbook, I'll open my checkbook up because I want you to understand that what I'm telling you is truth. And if you're willing to make the changes that you can live the life that I have, because it's not that hard. And if you make it a game, it's enjoyable. Like you actually have a great time and you laugh at other people. When we were trying to accumulate $1 million, we would see people making $250,000 in Primerica. I won't use their names because they're in Primerica still. And they went out and they bought $1 million house when they were making $250,000. And me and my wife would laugh. What a bonehead move that is. I mean, they don't even got 2 nickels they could rub, together, and they're living in $1 million house. And we went to visit their house, and their drapes look terrible, and their decor. Why? They got no money. The house is only the start, right, Bill? I mean, you know that because your wife decorates everything, right? So we used to use everybody else's bad choices and learn from them. Today, you see people wearing belts, Hermes belts, Gucci belts, Louis Vuitton belts that cost $500, $600, $1,000 plus for a damn belt. They're wearing it to try to impress everybody. Hey, look at my belt. Like I would say, hey, look at my belt. I'm an idiot. I spent $800 on a belt, right? Now, if you're rich and you're wealthy and you do that, that's one thing. But people are doing it, if they were brutally honest, they're doing it to try to impress other people.
Insecurity.
They're insecure, and they look the most secure because they're driving a nice car and they got the belt and they got this and that. And they're doing it because they're insecure. And rather than doing that, if they would just get locked in on getting to $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, 10, I think nowadays, $15 million is the number. If you have 15 million and you got no debt and you have a Primerica business that's cash flowing you 100 grand a month, I mean, you're free forever. Not only you're free, your kids are free. Your grandkids are going to be free. You've done it. So 15 million. Would you agree with me, Bill? What's the number you think?
It's north of 10.
Yeah, north of 10. It used to be 10. It used to be 10 way back.
They say rich is 3+ million. This was 10 years ago. So it's got to be 4 or 5 million to be considered rich in America. Well, let me ask you a question. A lot of people on this call think I need to show, a lot of people get a big office when you had offices like that. A big office, this thing is going to be big. They get too big an office, and they got a 3-year lease on it, 4-year lease, 5-year lease. They buy a car thinking to impress people. If I have this, then they'll join and they'll get. You know how many people I've had through my house? Thousands. Thousands have come through my house. Nothing. And so, and like your house, you can have all your hierarchy there once a week. Nothing, because it's like going to a museum. You know, they look at it, interesting, and then they go about their lives, and they're still conflicted regarding money. And so, you know, Art said the best way to recruit is with your income statement and your mutual fund statement. I believe this. If you want to impress people, tell how much money you're investing, because it's not for glitz. When you invest money, it's not glitz. You're talking about how much money you're investing. And when you start saying, listen, I'm putting away $2,000 a month, no one they'll ever try to recruit is putting away $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about that, Omar, and how you only reward yourself after you hit a net worth goal. And you don't even think about anything till you reach that goal.
Let me give you this one example. Bob Miller told me one time he was interviewing private money managers. He had like $50 million, you know, like 20 years ago. And he was interviewing money managers, and they all came, like 12 people came. He met with all of them. He said, I like you all. Now, in the next meeting, I want you to bring me your credit report and your own personal investment account statements. And the ones that do that, I'll look at. He said, out of the 12, 2 came back. 2 guys out of the 12 came back. So I learned that from him. So about 10 years ago, maybe longer, I had this client with $1 million, right? And I wanted to get him. And he was looking at me in Primerica and this other guy for Merrill Lynch. And I said, listen, we're probably both very good. I'm probably a little bit smarter than he is. This is exactly what I said. I said, but if I were you, this is what I would do. I would require us, the Merrill Lynch guy and me, to bring you our credit report and our own personal investment statement. Because would you want anybody investing your money that had screwed up credit and very little of their own money invested? And he says, that's a good idea. I said, great. So I came back with my credit score, 810 credit score. And at that time I had 800 or 900 grand. He was investing $1 million. So I was pretty much what he had. The Merrill Lynch guy didn't even come back, and I got the deal. So that's just one of them Bob Miller stories. But anyways, you had said how you don't reward yourself without the goal, right? So when we were living in our townhouse, now our townhouse was $821 a month was the mortgage. And I hated living there, by the way. I hated living that the neighbors were right next door on the other side of the wall. You know, I'm like, this just sucks. But I was like, until we get $1 million put away, this is where we're living. You can ask my wife. There were nights I got home pissed off that I lived in the damn townhouse because I hated it that much. And it was a nice townhouse. It was really nice, but I hated it because I knew that's where lower middle class people live. And I didn't want to live where lower middle class people live. So we accumulated $1 million and we changed the dang goal. We said, you know, that's not enough money to really go get a house and get it decorated. So we got to get $2 million, right? So the next week, a guy knocks on our door. This was in the height of the real estate boom. They offered us triple the money, $300,000 on my $99,000 townhouse. I didn't even ask my wife's approval. I said, it's a deal. And I signed the deal because I thought if anybody's going to be that stupid to give me $300,000, cash deal. So then we moved to an apartment and we took the money we made on the townhouse and we added it to our $1 million. And like 2 years later, we had $2.2 million. Then I said, okay, now we can go look at houses. We've got 2.2 million. So I was living in an apartment, refused to get a house. I was living in a townhouse that I hated, refused to move out of there unless we hit a net worth goal. Then when we went to look at the houses, we had $1 million cap. That was our cap. Well, you know, hanging around you guys like you and Hector and Bobby, well, when I went out looking at $1 million houses, I go, well, these are all crap. I don't want to live in none of these houses, right? So I raised my net worth goal a little bit more, $2.5 million. And then we bought a house for under $1.8 million. So everything, even watches, you know, I wanted a Rolex watch, you know, I wouldn't get it without hitting the goal. Bentley, I used to say $10 million, I'll get a Bentley. Well, I'm at 13.3 million cash and I still don't got my Bentley. You know what? 15 million is the new number, or the assets paying for it's, you know, the new thing. I don't know. I like to have goals. How do most grownups, Bill? How do most grownups live their life with no goals? Because they'll tell you they have a goal, but they're full of crap because they have no goals. They have ideas, they have wishes, but they have no real goals. Because if you have a goal, you have a written plan, you're working your plan morning, noon, and night, you're like eating up with it. That's a goal. These guys have wishes, man. You can't get rich on a wish.
I got this quote: double-mindedness about money holds people back. They want wealth and prosperity, but they think being wealthy and money is evil. And I've given up trying to convince people that God wants us to be wealthy. God wants us to make money. God wants us to have a life of abundance. If they choose to wallow, again, the question is, does God want you to be poor? Ask that question. Well, no. Well, then how much does he want you to have?
Abundance.
Yeah. And you look at the definition of abundance. And so most people are accepting a pittance financially. They have decided, you know why? Because they don't want to work. They don't want to build. They don't want to dream. They don't want to exercise the system that we have in capitalism. That's why so many people in America are broke today, and because they want somebody to take care of them. They don't want to have financial goals. They just want to be happy. I figured out the goal in life should not be to be happy, but to avoid unhappiness. And a key way to avoid unhappiness is have money. Talk about that, Omar, and how money, like Billy Graham said, money cures a lot of evils. Talk about that.
Most problems are resolved with a $10,000 check. Most problems, right? Not all problems. Most problems, if you can write a check, then what that really means, it's not a problem. The problem is you don't have the money. That's the problem. The problem is not the problem. The problem is you don't have the money, you know, to resolve the issue, right? So I think Christian people, and I'm a Christian, okay? Christian people wear a badge of honor when they're poor. And the Jewish people are the opposite. I mean, I swear, Bill, you and I are Jewish on the inside, okay? Because Jewish people want to bring value to their communities. They look at making money as a job well done, my son, you know, versus, you know, I mean, you know, when you die one day, if you believe in God like we do, and you're going to meet God one day, and he's going to tell you, man, Omar, I bless you with all these talents. I planted these dreams in your head. I put the right people around you, Bill Orender, Bobby Buisson, Hector Lamarck, Art Williams, Nick Elise. I put all these people around you. I gave you talent. I instilled your dreams. We created the O&O Money Show, for crying out loud, and you still didn't do your job. How are you going to face that? You know, I mean, oh my God. I'm going to hope and pray that he looks at me and he says, son, job well done. Proud of you. You know, of course, I'm not perfect. I got a whole lot of flaws, a whole list. If you ask my wife, she'll read them all out to you, you know. But I do one thing is I make sure that I try to take the blessings that I got and spread them around with the knowledge. I mean, I mentor so many people. I try to help people like you do. This whole O&O Money Show thing is our way to try to help people change the way they think and their mentality about money. I don't know. You know, people say money doesn't buy you happiness. Well, it doesn't buy you a miserable life either. You know, I mean, I'd rather be miserable and rich than miserable and broke, but I'd rather be happy and rich than happy and broke too, you know? So I don't know.
Well, you know, this happiness thing, we went to a funeral last week and up where we're from. We spent the whole week there, and it's an amazing number of people that couldn't make it because they didn't have any money. And how many people I know that are not getting treated for physical ailments because they don't have any money and the insurance won't pay for it. If the insurance won't pay for it, I'm not going to get it done. Right. And they wait for insurance to take care of it. They wait for the scholarship for their kids to send go to college. If not, my kids are going to have to be loaded up with student loans. And there's price to be paid and heavy, heavy, deep consequences, Omar, for not having a money consciousness, not money motivation. A strong money consciousness. Talk about that.
Well, I mean, you look at
America.
Look at Hector as an example. His wife gets cancer, and because he had a money consciousness all these years, he could bring her to the best place in the USA, that Evita place in Arizona. They don't take,
that's not cheap.
Right, no, that's what I mean. They don't take health insurance. You got to write him a check.
$100,000 just to get in.
He told me the whole treatment cost $250,000. And because of his money consciousness, he was able to write that check and not flinch. No big deal. And his wife has been cancer-free for 10 plus years. So he's kept his wife around, the woman he loves more than anybody, right, alive because of that. The penalty would have been if he didn't have a money consciousness and that exact thing happened, his wife would probably be gone. People don't think of that. His grandchild had leukemia. Because of his money consciousness, they could go get him the best treatment on the planet, and he's now cured, right? So you look at us, my mom got leukemia about, say, 3 years ago. We went down to the doctors, and the doctors told her, she said, listen, you're in luck. She says, I'm in luck? I got leukemia. She says, you have the best kind of leukemia. I didn't know there was a best kind of leukemia, but the doctor told her that this leukemia doesn't kill you. Old age will kill you quicker than this leukemia will, as long as you take the meds. And the meds are like 1 pill a day. It's no big deal. They are $8,000 a month, though. Man, if you would have looked at my mom's face, it was like a death warrant, right? And she goes, 8,000? Where am I going to get 8,000 from? I go, hello, I'm rich. I said, Mom, I'm not. She says, 8,000. I'm not going to let you die. It's $8,000 a month, whatever. You know, if I mean, it ain't no big deal. Now, luckily, their health coverage ended up paying it, but we didn't know that at that very minute, at that moment in time. I was my mom's everything, okay? Because without that $8,000 a month, she's gonna die, right? So what are the consequences? Well, consequences are maybe one day somebody you really, really love really needs that, and you're either gonna be able to give it to them or not. And if you're here listening, it's going to be worse, because if you didn't know, if you weren't around it, if you weren't listening, to O&O Money Show once a month for the last 6 months, if you weren't in Primerica and you didn't hear, you didn't know you had the opportunity, maybe it wouldn't hurt as much. It would still hurt, but it wouldn't hurt as much. But if this happened to you, I'm looking at Ray Pittman here. Hi, Ray. So, and I don't really know Ray, but I'm just looking at him on the screen. If Ray's child got deathly ill, God forbid, and they told him, Ray, it's $1 million, man. We need $1 million in a week because we got to operate. And if not, now, if you didn't know Primerica existed, you didn't listen to all this talk we've been giving you for months and months and months, it would still hurt. But man, knowing what you got a hold of and what you could do in this business, it's going to hurt a whole hell of a lot more, I think, knowing that you were able to change it, you know? So what are the consequences? You know, you look at our kids and they've got dreams. My kids have dreams and goals. And so not having real goals that you talk about, my kids have a dream list. So like literally they have a written out dream list of what they want to achieve, highlighted items. I look at it with them. I go, all right, Brady, let's look at your list. What are we able to scratch off between now and August when you got to go back to school? Oh, well, we can do this, Dad, and we can do that, Dad. What is that doing to my children's mentality about they're doing it as a child, they're going to do it as an adult. They're going to do it hopefully with their kids, which are my grandkids, right? Consequences are huge. And you don't really realize the magnitude of them until you get older and wiser. I'm sure Bill realizes them more than I realize them because he's about, what, you're 20 years older than me, Bill? How old are you, Bill?
25 years older.
25 years older. So I'm sure when I'm Bill's age, I'm going to realize even more than I realize now. But if you're on this call and you're 20 years old, you don't need to wait 50 years, you know, to realize the magnitude of it. You can just listen to us, listen to what we're telling you, because it's legit, it's real, you know?
You know,
consequences.
I want to talk about somebody put how do you get $1 million put away? Put forth out. Art Williams amazed me. Every time he speaks, the last thing he talks about is money accumulation. He gives it 6 points for Think and Grow Rich, and he gives you a sheet that shows you compound interest on various percentages and how much money a month you got to be putting away to be a millionaire in 10 years. Everybody on this call got to make a decision and a proclamation right now that I'm going to start putting money away and I'm going to get that thing up to $4,000 a month within the next year, 2 years. And you got to start with where you're at. And, you know, if you're putting away $100 a month, move it. One of the things I always did, Omar, whenever I got stimulated, like I'd go to a fast start school or a big meeting or a meeting like this, and I was putting away $200 a month, I moved it to $250. Because why? I wanted to tell my subconscious I've got more and more's coming. And I go to another meeting, I move it to 300, I move it to 400. I kept moving it up because you've got to tell your mind, I've got a lot, there's more coming, and I can put money away, instead of the scarcity mentality people have. I don't have enough, I got to cut back, I'd like to invest money, but I don't have any money. You see, we're in a system where you make all the money you want to make. And it's a revenue source. So talk about that and how you've got to condition your mind every day, not every once in a while. When you were in your prime of accumulating money, how often did you write out your net worth statement, or how often did you write it out?
Every morning, every single morning in the shower. And then when I was in the office, I'd grab one of my reps and I'd write it out with them so they could see it. And I'd write it out every night on paper. So I wrote it out in the morning in the shower. I wrote it out in the office with representatives looking at it, because I thought if they're going to look at it, they're going to kind of hold me accountable to it, right? Because I'm telling people what I'm going to do, right? So I wrote it out, thought about it all the time. I wrote it out multiple times a day, but it was on my brain like all the time. I mean,
If there was a tattoo on your brain, you would have had that on your brain. If you could tattoo your brain.
Yeah. Oh, and it is tattooed. It is tattooed on my brain. I mean, two things that were on my mind all the time was my wife and my money, right? That was it. Because that's what motivated me. And getting married actually motivated me. When I wasn't married, I was motivated to put money away, but I viewed it like, it's only me. I could live under a bridge if I had to, or in a one-room apartment. The minute that I got married, I was like, oh, there's another human being relying on me. She's relying on me now. So that really motivated me more to accumulate more money and really be smarter with my money. And then when we had Brady, I'm like, holy crap, and I got two people relying on me. So that motivated me more. And then when Olivia came, I had three people relying on me. So the more responsibility that I had with my wife and my kids just motivated me more and more to get stone cold wealthy. I mean, I'd like to die one day and leave enough money where, our kids have hundreds of millions of dollars each, because that's the way Carnegie's did it, and the Rockefellers did it, and the Wrigleys did it, and the Hiltons did it, and all the names that we didn't know them always. Those guys were broke at one time. They just changed their money consciousness. They just were crystal clear on their goals. They just had a written plan and worked their plan morning, noon, and night. They didn't worry about wearing a belt or driving a Rolls Royce or whatever. They were so focused on getting wealthy, and all that other stuff comes after, because the reality is there does come a time where like I got like 129 grand a month rolling in on Primerica income. When you add my code and another little one I got, I only live on 40 grand a month, Bill, right? So 40 grand a month, pay some taxes, you got a lot left over every month, right? So after you've, like you said, after you've accumulated a lot of money, after you've wiped out all your debt, after you can, listen, Olivia and Brady have $500,000 in their trust funds. I mean, they're in the 8th and 9th grade. And I mean, Bill, I don't know, when I was in the 8th and 9th grade, I had maybe $100, right? They got $500,000 put away. It was, I wish my goals list was here. My goals list said minimum when Brady and Olivia turn 21, that there's $1 million in their trust fund. I'm going to beat that because they're only 12 and 13 and they already got $500,000. And we add into it every year. You could do 30 grand a year. The IRS lets you, and we've been doing that every year since they were born.
Omar, I've never bought a lottery ticket because I don't ever condition my mind to think, I'd rather just win the lottery than to work and build. And I think, and I never wanted my kids to get scholarships. Because why? I want to pay for it versus we bet on the lottery. We're betting on our kids getting a scholarship. I've never voted for anyone that says, vote for me and I will transfer money from the wealthy to you. Right. There's a whole 50% of all Americans want to take your money to pay for their life because they lack ambition and drive. And so I think there's choices. One of the things that my kids all went to a summer camp called Kanakuk out of Missouri that Mike Tuttle, his kids went to, and Josh Huffman's kids went to. And what a difference that made. And my kids all went to a Christian school. Invaluable. Invaluable. Right now, I've got 6 grandkids going to Kanakuk this summer. Because why? These are critical things to do with children, and it costs money. Christian schools. People would rather put their kids in public schools, and who knows what's going to happen there with all those maniacs running that thing versus, because I don't want to make enough money to put them to a private Christian school. You cheapo. People are really cheap, and they don't like to. No, you're just cheap. I mean, I'm cheap at things that that are frivolous, like some things. But I want to put my money where my family is like you. You've got your kids in Christian schools. Tell the difference when you put them through Christian schools, and what does it cost you a year? And after taxes, but what an investment, it's not a cost. Talk about that.
I think it's the best investment you could make.
I agree.
Our kids love school. How many kids love school, right? Our children love school. They love to be there. They're nurtured there. They're loved there. They're known there. They get straight A's in school. It costs 38 grand a year, but you know what the only school opened last August in Broward County, Florida was? Westminster Academy, which was our kid's school. So as every other kid was learning online or not learning crap online, our kids went to school all year long, had a normal year. They went to homecoming, they went to prom, they had all the stuff. They had a normal graduation because it's a private Christian school. They're not going to let the government dictate what they do. They let the parents and the staff come together and raise our children together. It is priceless. I tell everybody.
I agree.
Number one thing. Now, what's crazy? People will not put their kids in school, but they'll drive BMWs and Mercedes-Benz at $1 grand a month leases. That money could be spent on Christian school, but they'd rather choose it on my side. Look at me. I got a Beamer. I got a Mercedes. Look at me. But my kids in public school probably getting bullied around, not learning what they need to learn. It's crazy.
And they don't learn morals. They don't learn morals in school. They don't learn Christian principles that are timeless. And again, because they're cheap. Let the government pay for it. I'm going to tell you, I had a guy one time say, he's given up. He's totally settling. He's, I'm going to work for the federal government. What? Can't get fired. Always get my pay raises. Have them pay for this. Have them pay for that. I thought, he has given up. Would you want your daughter marrying a guy that has totally given up on that? I just want to work for the government and take care of me. As we wind down, we got 6 minutes left. Talk about two things. What book right now should they be reading to really transform their thinking regarding money? And what plan of action activity should they be doing daily to create that money consciousness?
Well, I'm in the middle of reading You Are a Badass at Making Money. The author is Jen. I can't remember the last name, but You Are a Badass at Making Money.
I've read it twice.
The first 30 pages of it or so is all about mindset. Why you don't have money is the way you were raised and the way you think. You think you don't deserve it. Well, then you ain't going to get it. Money will never go where it's not wanted. Okay, just remember that line at all times. Money will not go where it's not wanted. And it talks about your conscious mind can tell you one thing, but your subconscious mind, the one that really dictates what you do, it could tell you something totally different. So you've got to work on that. So I would read that book. I'm right in the middle of it. It's a great book. It definitely wouldn't hurt anybody to read that book. Would you?
I recommend people go on a diet, a money book diet. For every book you read, they should read a book a month on money and not read anything else. You don't need to know how to handle people. You don't need to, you got to learn how to create that money consciousness. So what kind of plan of action, and talk about some of the things you put on your bathroom door in the steam.
I would tell you, I would relate my numbers on the bathroom glass door. I'd write it, I'd run the water real hot, it'd steam up, then I'd write out all my numbers down, and then I'd wipe it all down, then I let the water steam it up again. And so how I would do it was, I'm I was in there a long time. I would work out as generation one hierarchy. I put 1,000 recruits, 2 million in premium equals this much in income. And when I make this much in income, I live on this much and I invest this much. And if I invest this much for 20 years, I have this much in net worth. And so I would start it all with the business because that's where the money came from, right? Like other than the business, I didn't have any other way to earn the money that I wanted to invest. So every day in the shower, I would write 1,000 recruits, 2 million in premium, and I could work out. I wish I brought my iPad with me here. I would log on the iPad. Maybe I'll do that on the next one where I actually write out. Tony Alexander's like, yes, do that. I could see her nod her head. So I would write it out every day. I would talk about it. You got to talk about it. You know why people don't talk about it? They're so worried what everybody else is going to think about them. Oh, what are they going to think? That all I want to do is make money? Oh, listen, who gives a crap what they think? It don't matter. I can tell you now that I'm at the other end, $13+ million richer, live in a $5 million house, have an income of. It don't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter. Stop worrying about what everybody thinks. I'd write it out every day. Have a plan. Right now, honestly, I would go back and look at just your Roth IRA accounts, right? Most of you guys, you don't even have a Roth IRA account. If you were brutally honest, right, you don't even got a damn IRA account that you're packing money into every month, right? Have a goal this year. Start your pack. If you could only start it with $100, start it with $100, but click Pack Plus on there so that every year it raises it automatically. And you should have a goal to get your Roth maxed out every year. That was originally my goal way back in like 1996 was to max out my IRA. It was only $2,000 a year then, Bill. And I thought I got to get $2,000 in that IRA before April 15th, man. And I did everything I could do to max out that IRA. And then when they raised the limit, I'd raise the limit. And whenever they raise it, I'd max it out. And now we have these special retirement plans, pension plan, set where like you could do 120 grand a year into it and write it all off. And man, I get that done within 90 days of the year. You know, I'm like, all right, now what? You know, now where's the money going to go? But man, read a book, get a plan, up your Roth IRAs, and run your F&A. Look at your number. How much money will you need to retire? Listen, I think a lot of you guys avoid doing that because you know it's ugly, right? But you know what? If you want to change, you got to know what you need to change. You need to look at your numbers. You need to know, man, I need to invest how much a month? $3,981 a month. Oh, crap. Let me get to work, right? Because if you just ignore it, guess what? Time will not stop. Time is going to keep going, whether you ignore your age and your retirement goals or not. And one day, like you said, Bill, you're either going to regret it because there's consequences for everything, right? Good consequences and bad consequences. Don't let them be bad consequences.
The other thing I'd recommend, we're stopping here though, is so many people try to go to this meeting, that meeting. There's a big seminar somewhere. I got to go to it. I got to learn about the X's and the O's. Find somebody. Don't call them Omar and me, please. People say, well, would you help me be a cat? No. You know, I've done that, and you know, it's wasted my time, frankly. But find somebody else that you can call, like Omar and I would talk, and talk about money, making money, accumulate. The only subject of conversation, money, accumulating money, having money, and it will stimulate the subconscious into what being a magnet to make and accumulate money. You'll make more money because you're building the hierarchy correctly to save more money. Omar, our next meeting is on July the 9th, and same time, same station. Omar, I treasure these moments with you, and you're making, and we're making a big difference in the lives of many people that want to make a big difference. There's 400 people on this call. There's 130,000 code numbers. That should tell you something. There's 129,600 people. I don't need to hear all this stuff. Well, I need to hear it. I need to be reminded, right, Omar?
You know, blows my mind. I leave out text and WhatsApp about this call. And I just think even my own RVPs, they, yeah, I'm going to watch it. Yeah, but what if you got your people to watch it and one of them ignited? One of them listened to this and said, oh my God, I need to get busy. What would that do to your business? I think half-ass efforts is what stunts your growth in Primerica. And most people give a half-ass effort in everything they do. Recruiting, prospecting, promoting this Zoom. They just give a half-ass effort, right? I think part of it is it's not that they want to give a half-ass effort. It's they don't really believe that if they gave a maximum effort, it would change anything. And that's sad, I think, right? Because I know giving maximum effort changes your life,
Omar, this has been great. I treasure you as a friend, but I treasure these also because these are priceless. Thank you, Omar.
Hey, wait. Everybody. Let me just, hey, Bill, look, Willie and Lorena Naranjo, right? They're making $3.3 million, right? They're living the dream. They've worked their tail off. They've got money consciousness and awareness. They're on this Zoom live. They don't miss this Zoom. That like that ought to tell you something, right? You got a person that other than Bobby Buisan, Mike Sharp, I think they're number 3 or number 4 in cash flow in the whole company. They're killing it. They're living their dreams. They're living in a penthouse in Key Biscayne, ocean view all the way around their condominium. Bayview on one side, ocean view on the other side, making tons of money, changing tons of lives, helping their RVPs. They never miss a show. They've traveled to Dubai. They were in Fiji one time when the meeting was on. They logged on from Fiji from their vacation, and they didn't miss the O&O Money Show. That tells you and I have a million other things we could be doing, right? I mean, I know I have a million. My kids are out of school right now. I could be doing a ton of other things, and I block off this hour with you so that we can, and people, oh, I had an appointment. You dumbass, you had an appointment. You had all week long to have an appointment. Your one appointment is on Friday from 10 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock. You're a dumbass if that's you, or you didn't call your reps, or you didn't tell them the magnitude. This could change your life, man. This could change your life. If the mentality is right, your actions start changing. If your actions start changing, the results start changing, man. But if it ain't right up here, if you have that, I don't deserve to be rich. Nobody was rich where I grew up. My parents weren't rich. Who am I kidding? This isn't for me. Guess what? It's not for you unless you change. And being on this Zoom and getting people on your team on the Zoom is key to change. Change is not comfortable. It's uncomfortable. You got to do stuff you don't want to do. But in the end, Bill will tell you, I will tell you, Hector will tell you, Bobby will tell you, Art will tell you. In the end, it's way worth it. I mean, I'm even that. My name is even in that list. Bill Orender, Bobby Buisan, Hector. Obviously I'm the small guy on it, but you know what? I wanted to work hard to get on that list. You should want to work hard to get on that list. You should want to work hard where one day when I'm Bill's age, I'm calling you up and say, hey, let's do a money show. There's nobody else in the company I'd rather do it with than you, right? You should have that as a goal, damn it.
All right then, Omar. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Omar. Enjoy your home.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye-bye.